The sky over New York turned purple at exactly 3:17 p.m. on a warm Tuesday in May 2089. It wasn't the soft purple of sunset, but a deep electric shade that made people stop and look up. Traffic halted. Phones came out. And then the clouds split open. A ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Not with the fire and thunder of human spacecraft, but with an eerie silence that somehow felt louder than any noise. It was massive, 3 miles long at least, and shaped like a perfect teardrop. Its surface shimmered with colors that human eyes had never seen before. Captain James Wilson was eating lunch in the United Earth Space Force headquarters when the alarm sounded. He dropped his sandwich and ran to the command center, his heart racing but his mind clear. At 43, Wilson had never expected to be humanity's first line of defense against aliens. Yet here he was, watching the impossible unfold on the giant screens. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," said Lieutenant Adams, her fingers flying over her console. "In multiple languages: English, Mandarin, Hindi, Spanish." Wilson nodded. "Let's hear it." The voice that filled the room was calm, almost musical. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, a union of 37 spacefaring civilizations. We have observed your world for centuries and believe you are now ready to join the wider community of intelligent life. We request a meeting with your leaders." Within hours, the United Earth government had assembled an emergency response team. Captain Wilson was chosen to lead the diplomatic mission, along with Dr. Linda Moore, Earth's top xenobiologist, and 5 other specialists. They boarded a shuttle to meet the alien ship, which now hovered above the Atlantic Ocean. The inside of the alien vessel was both strange and familiar. The air was breathable but carried sweet scents that reminded Wilson of cinnamon and mint. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, and the beings waiting for them looked almost human. If humans had blue-tinted skin, oversized eyes, and stood 7 feet tall. "I am Trell, third speaker of the Galactic Council," said one of the aliens, bowing slightly. "We have waited a long time for this meeting." Over the next few hours, the humans learned that the galaxy was full of life. The Council had existed for over 40,000 Earth years. They had technologies that seemed like magic: instant communication across light years, energy sources that never ran out, medical treatments that could cure any disease. "We offer you knowledge," said Trell. "We offer you the stars. In return, we ask only for your participation in our shared future." It sounded too good to be true. Wilson felt a flutter of doubt, but the evidence was overwhelming. The aliens had technologies that could help Earth solve its biggest problems: climate change, disease, energy shortages. After 3 days of talks, the United Earth government agreed to initial diplomatic relations. The Council established an embassy on the Moon, and humans were invited to send representatives to the Council's headquarters on a planet they called Nexus. For the public, it was a time of celebration and wonder. Humanity was not alone. The future looked brighter than ever. But Captain Wilson couldn't shake a feeling that something wasn't right. During the negotiations, he had caught Trell exchanging glances with another council member when they thought no one was watching. It was quick, but Wilson recognized that look. It was the same one he had seen in poker games when someone was holding better cards than they let on. As he watched the alien ship depart for the Moon, Wilson made a promise to himself. He would smile and play along, but he would watch everything very, very carefully. Humanity had joined the galactic stage, but at what price? 5 years passed since first contact. Earth had changed. Gleaming towers made with alien materials rose in major cities. Disease rates dropped thanks to Council medical knowledge. Clean energy powered homes and businesses. On the surface, the partnership with the Galactic Council seemed perfect. Dr. Emily Reynolds didn't believe in perfect things. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she spent her days studying alien languages at the Lunar Embassy. Late one night, alone in her lab, she noticed something odd in the translation matrix the Council had given to humans. "That's strange," she whispered, tapping her screen. Certain words had multiple meanings that didn't match the Council's official translations. Words like partnership, development, and protection carried subtle secondary meanings that hinted at control and ownership. Emily downloaded her findings onto a private drive and requested a meeting with Major Thomas Reed, a military intelligence officer stationed at the lunar base. She had worked with him before and trusted his judgment. "I need to show you something," she said when they met in a quiet corner of the lunar gardens, away from the Council's monitoring devices. "I think we're being deceived." Major Reed's face remained calm, but his eyes narrowed as Emily explained her discovery. "I've had my own concerns," he admitted. "The technologies they shared with us are impressive but limited. Nothing related to weapons or independent space travel beyond our solar system." Over the next month, Emily and Thomas secretly investigated further. They found hidden archives in the embassy's database that weren't meant for human eyes. What they discovered chilled them to the bone. The Galactic Council had done this before. 63 times, to be exact. Young spacefaring species were approached, offered technology and knowledge, gradually guided into the correct path of development. Each time, these species eventually lost their independence, becoming what the Council called integrated member states, but what looked more like servant races. "Earth is special," Thomas said one day, reviewing their findings. "Our solar system sits at a junction of 7 major spatial currents that make it perfect for faster-than-light travel. We're like a highway interchange in the middle of nowhere that suddenly became valuable." Emily nodded. "And there's more. According to these medical files, human biology is uniquely resilient. We adapt faster than any species they've encountered. They're fascinated by us." The pieces started fitting together. The Council's generosity was strategic. They needed Earth's location. They wanted to study humans, and they had no intention of ever treating humanity as equals. One file stood out among the rest. Details about a species called the Araxians. They had resisted integration 1,000 years ago. Their civilization had been labeled as dangerous and removed from the galactic community, a polite phrase for something that looked suspiciously like genocide. Emily and Thomas brought their findings to Captain Wilson, now Admiral Wilson, who had maintained his quiet vigilance over the years. He listened without surprise, as if waiting for this moment. "We need to tell the United Earth government," Emily said urgently. Wilson shook his head. "They already know. For the past 3 years, we've been preparing. It's called Project Prometheus." He pulled up a classified file on his secure tablet. "We've been accepting their gifts while developing our own path. Everything they teach us, we study and then take in a different direction. They think we're following their blueprint, but we're building something they've never seen." Thomas looked up from the tablet, his expression grim but determined. "So what's the plan?" "We play along," Wilson said quietly. "We smile and nod and act grateful. And meanwhile, we get ready." "Ready for what?" Emily asked. Wilson's eyes hardened. "Independence. At any cost." Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Commander Alex Foster floated in zero gravity, watching workers assemble something that shouldn't exist. The massive shipyard stretched for miles, hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid named Vesta. 6 warships were taking shape, unlike anything seen on Earth before. "Status report," Alex asked through the comm. "Engine testing at 94% efficiency," replied Chief Engineer Ben Morris. "That's 30% better than Council ships, according to our data. And they still have no idea we're here." Project Prometheus had grown beyond anyone's wildest dreams in the 2 years since Admiral Wilson had revealed its existence. While the Council believed humans were building simple colony ships using approved designs, the real work happened in secret locations throughout the solar system. Back on Earth, the United Earth government continued to play the perfect student. President Diana Clark smiled and nodded at council meetings, asking for guidance and expressing gratitude for alien technology. Behind closed doors, she authorized more resources for Prometheus and reviewed plans for humanity's independence. The key to the deception was simple. Humans used very little of the actual technology given by the Council. Instead, Earth scientists studied the principles behind alien tech and developed their own versions that wouldn't register on Council scanning systems because they operated differently. They expect us to build exactly what they show us, Dr. Victor Stone explained during a classified briefing. By creating our own path, we become invisible to their monitoring. This approach led to breakthroughs the Council never anticipated. Human ships used gravity manipulation instead of traditional engines. Human weapons focused on electromagnetic disruption rather than energy beams. Most importantly, human stealth systems could hide entire fleets from Council detection. Commander Foster's fleet was just one part of the plan. Across Earth, massive underground facilities were being constructed. Advanced defense systems were disguised as power plants or research centers, and millions of civilians were quietly trained for emergency protocols that might one day save their lives. The Council remained blind to it all. Their representatives continued to guide human development, believing their plan for Earth's gradual integration was on track. Occasionally, a Council member would express surprise at how quickly humans mastered certain concepts, but none suspected the full truth. The Council believes we're 50 years away from independent interstellar travel, Admiral Wilson told Commander Foster during a secure transmission. In reality, we're 6 months away, perhaps less. Not everyone agreed with the secrecy. Some human leaders argued for open resistance or honest negotiation. But the files Emily and Thomas had discovered were clear. The Council didn't negotiate with developing species. They guided, they controlled, and they eliminated threats. We need to be ready before we reveal ourselves, President Clark insisted. Strong enough that they can't simply crush us, but not so aggressive that they feel threatened immediately. The balance was delicate. Every day, Council observers walked among humans. Their ships patrolled the solar system. Their embassy on the moon housed hundreds of alien representatives who watched Earth's progress with calculating eyes. One evening, as Alex inspected the fleet's flagship, a technician approached with urgent news. "Commander, we're picking up unusual activity at the edge of the solar system. Multiple Council ships changing patrol patterns. Something's happening." Alex frowned. This wasn't in the timeline. Humanity needed more time. "Get me Admiral Wilson," Alex ordered, "and bring all systems to standby. I have a feeling our schedule just changed." In the darkness of space, Council ships moved with new purpose. Unknown to humanity, the galaxy was about to change forever. The Council ship Eternal Harmony limped into Earth's orbit, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from a massive hole in its side. 3 more damaged vessels followed, their once perfect hulls now scared and broken. Emergency beacons blared across all frequencies. Admiral Wilson watched the scene from Earth's orbital defense platform, carefully hidden beneath the shell of what the Council believed was a simple communication satellite. "They're requesting immediate assistance and an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership," reported his communications officer. Wilson's face remained neutral, but his mind raced. This was unexpected. In 8 years of contact, the Council had never shown weakness. Their ships were always perfect, their technology flawless. Now they looked desperate. "Inform President Clark. Tell the Council we'll meet them at the Lunar Embassy in 6 hours." In the hidden command center beneath Geneva, President Diana Clark called an emergency meeting of Project Prometheus leaders. "Something has attacked the Council," she explained, showing footage of the damaged ships. "They're calling for an emergency session with all member species." Dr. Emily Reynolds studied the images with a frown. "The damage pattern is strange. Those aren't weapon impacts I recognize." Major Thomas Reed, now General Reed, nodded in agreement. Whatever hit them came from outside Council space, something they weren't prepared for. 6 hours later, the Council chamber on the moon was filled with tension. High Councilor Dorn, whose species normally appeared calm and controlled, showed visible signs of stress. His blue skin had paled, and his large eyes darted nervously around the room. "We face an unprecedented threat," Dorn announced without the usual diplomatic pleasantries. "A species from beyond the galactic arm has launched attacks against multiple Council worlds. We call them Void Walkers." Holographic images appeared, showing strange ships unlike anything humans had seen before. They were black, with shapes that seemed to shift and change as they moved. Council warships fired at them, but their weapons passed through as if the Void Walker ships weren't fully solid. "They use technology we cannot counter," Dorn continued. "They travel through spaces between normal space. Their weapons ignore our shields. We have lost 17 worlds in the past 30 days. President Clark maintained a concerned but measured expression. "This is troubling news, High Counselor. How can Earth assist?" Dorn's gaze fixed on her with new intensity. "Our observers have detected unusual energy patterns from your research facilities. Patterns that suggest you may have developed technologies along unexpected paths." The room grew silent. For the first time, the Council was admitting they knew humans weren't following their prescribed development plan. "We believe," Dorn said carefully, "that human creativity might offer solutions our scientists haven't considered. Your species thinks differently, in ways that might help against the Void Walkers." General Reed caught Admiral Wilson's eye across the room. This was not how they had planned to reveal humanity's progress. Being asked for help against a mysterious enemy could be genuine, or an elaborate trap. "We need access to your research," Dorn continued. "All of it. Even the projects you've kept hidden from us." President Clark's smile remained diplomatic. "I'm not sure what you mean by hidden projects, High Counselor. We've been transparent about our development." Dorn's patience visibly broke. "We don't have time for games. The Council is facing extinction. For the first time in 50,000 years, we are losing a war." His voice echoed through the chamber, the first time any human had heard a Council member raise their voice. "Help us," Dorn said, his tone dropping to something humans had never heard from the Council before. He was begging. 3 days after High Counselor Dorn's desperate plea, the full Galactic Council delegation arrived at Earth. 7 massive ships entered orbit, more than had ever visited at once. This time, they didn't dock at the moon. They requested to land directly on Earth, at the United Earth headquarters in Geneva. President Clark stood with Admiral Wilson, General Reed, and Dr. Reynolds as the Council ships descended. Unlike their usual silent approach, these landings were loud and hurried, betraying their urgency. "They're scared," whispered Emily. "I never thought I'd see that." The Council representatives filed into the grand meeting hall. Besides Dorn, there were leaders from 6 other major species, all showing signs of stress. Some had visible injuries. Others moved with the slow caution of those who hadn't slept in days. "Thank you for receiving us," Dorn began, his voice humbler than any human had heard before. "The situation has worsened. The Void Walkers have taken 3 more core systems. Our defenses are failing faster than expected." President Clark nodded sympathetically. "We understand your concern, High Counselor. Earth is willing to provide humanitarian aid to affected worlds." Dorn shook his head impatiently. "We need more than aid. We need your technology, your weapons." He activated a holographic display, showing detailed schematics of Project Prometheus. The secret shipyards, the hidden defense systems, the advanced propulsion methods humans had developed on their own. "We know everything," Dorn said. "We've always known. We simply didn't consider your developments threatening. Until now." Admiral Wilson kept his face neutral, but his hand moved closer to the emergency signal button on his wrist. If pressed, it would alert all Prometheus bases to activate full defenses. Dorn continued, his tone shifting from humble to formal. "The Council officially offers Earth full membership status, not as a developing world, but as a principal member with voting rights. In exchange, we require immediate military assistance and complete access to your technological innovations." The humans exchanged glances, Full membership was what other species waited centuries to achieve. It was being offered after only 8 years. "That's very generous," President Clark replied carefully. "We'll need time to consider." "There is no time." Another council member stood up, her reptilian features twisted in anger. "While you delay, worlds burn." Dorn raised a hand to calm his colleague. "What my associate means is that we face extinction. Surely humans understand the need for swift action." President Clark's expression hardened slightly. "We do understand urgency, High Counselor. We also understand that your offer comes only now, when you need something from us." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Dorn's next words came slowly, deliberately. "Perhaps I should clarify our position. We have detected weapons platforms in orbit around Earth, not Council technology. Your own creations, hidden from our observers." A new hologram appeared, showing the locations of Earth's secret defenses. "These are now targeted by Council ships. We don't wish to threaten, but we cannot allow human technology to remain solely in human hands while the galaxy faces destruction." Dorn's large eyes fixed on President Clark. "You have 6 Earth hours to agree to full cooperation. After that..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The threat hung in the air between them. As the council members left to let humans discuss their decision, General Reed moved close to President Clark. "They're desperate enough to threaten us," he whispered. "Should we activate the defense grid?" President Clark watched the aliens depart with a calculating expression. "No. Contact Commander Foster. Tell him to prepare Operation Ghost Ship." "Are you sure?" Admiral Wilson asked quietly. Clark nodded. "The Council just made their biggest mistake. They showed us they're afraid." As the 6-hour deadline approached, an unusual calm settled over Earth's major cities. No panic, no visible evacuations, no military movements that Council observers could detect. In Geneva, President Clark and her team continued discussions, occasionally sending messages requesting more time. High Counselor Dorn watched from his ship, growing increasingly confused. "They're not preparing defenses," he told his commanders. "No weapons systems have activated. Are they surrendering?" On Earth, the real action happened beneath the surface and beyond normal sight. Operation Ghost Ship had been planned for years, though no one had expected to activate it so soon. In New York, millions of people moved quietly through subway tunnels that led to massive underground chambers. In Beijing, families packed essential belongings into small bags and descended into hidden bunkers. Across every continent, carefully rehearsed evacuation plans unfolded with remarkable efficiency. Meanwhile, in Earth orbit and hidden throughout the solar system, stealth ships powered up. These vessels were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Designed not for war, but for escape and survival. Each could carry thousands of people and remain undetected by using technology that bent light and energy around them. Commander Alex Foster stood on the bridge of the flagship Nova, watching as the evacuation numbers climbed. "Status report," Alex ordered. "Operation at 67% completion," reported Lieutenant Emma Davis. 2 billion people successfully relocated to either Exodus ships or deep shelters. Estimated completion time, 43 minutes. Alex nodded. It was cutting close to the Council's deadline, but the plan was working. Humanity would not fight a war it might lose. Instead, it would simply disappear. The genius of Ghost Ship was its deception. While evacuating billions of people, automated systems kept lights on in empty buildings. Computer programs continued normal network traffic. Even heat signatures were maintained in abandoned homes to fool Council sensors. As the deadline approached, Dorn grew increasingly agitated. He had expected either military resistance or formal surrender. The continued requests for more time to discuss made no sense. "Prepare to deploy troops," he ordered reluctantly. "When the deadline expires, we'll secure their technology, by force if necessary." In the depths of the Geneva facility, President Clark received the final confirmation. Ghost Ship complete. She took a deep breath and looked at her team. Admiral Wilson, General Reed, and Dr. Reynolds. They had worked for this moment for years. "It's time," she said simply. Across Earth, in precise coordination, the deception fell away. Lights in major cities winked out. Power stations went offline. And most importantly, advanced stealth technology activated around key human populations, rendering them completely invisible to Council sensors. When the deadline expired, Dorn ordered his ships to begin the occupation of Earth. But as Council troops landed in major cities, they found something impossible: emptiness. New York stood silent, its streets deserted. Beijing's massive towers held no people. London, Moscow, Rio, Cairo, all empty of human life. Council scanners detected no functioning technology, no defense systems, no signs of the advanced weapons they had feared. "This is impossible," Dorn whispered, watching the reports come in. "Where are they?" "In orbit, hidden by technology the Council couldn't detect." Commander Foster watched the confusion unfold. "Final evacuation numbers confirmed," Lieutenant Davis reported. 2 billion humans relocated to Exodus ships. 5 billion secured in shielded habitats. Council forces detect neither. Foster allowed a small smile. "Send the coded message to President Clark. Ghost ship successful." As Council troops searched empty cities for any sign of humanity's advanced technology, they found nothing but silence. Earth appeared abandoned, a planet of empty buildings and powerless systems. The greatest disappearing act in galactic history was complete. 3 weeks after humanity's disappearance, chaos gripped the Galactic Council. Their forces occupied an empty Earth, searching desperately for technology that might save them from the Voidwalkers. They found nothing but abandoned cities and powered-down systems. High Counselor Dorn paced the command center they had established in what was once the United Earth headquarters in Geneva. Reports from across Council space showed a grim picture: 15 more worlds lost, 3 major fleets destroyed, and the Voidwalkers advancing toward the Council's core systems. "They must have left something behind," Dorn insisted to his search teams. "Humans couldn't have moved an entire civilization without leaving traces." But they had. Using technology developed in secret, humanity had achieved what the Council thought impossible. Deep in space, far beyond the edges of Council territory, Commander Alex Foster's fleet of Exodus ships traveled quietly toward a destination only humans knew. 2 billion people lived aboard these massive vessels, carrying Earth's knowledge and hopes with them. Back on Earth, hidden beneath mountains and oceans, 5 billion more humans waited in shielded habitats, completely invisible to Council sensors. "Latest intelligence from our hidden observers," reported Lieutenant Emma Davis on the bridge of the Nova. "The Voidwalkers have broken through the Council's main defense line. They'll reach the central systems within days." Alex nodded grimly. "And our special envoys?" "Made contact 6 hours ago," Emma replied with a small smile. "The Voidwalkers have agreed to meet." This was the part of the plan even most humans didn't know. While the Council searched empty cities, humanity had sent ambassadors to meet the Voidwalkers themselves. Not to fight, but to talk. The meeting took place in neutral space, aboard a human vessel designed specifically for diplomatic contact. Dr. Emily Reynolds led the delegation, her understanding of alien languages making her the perfect choice. The Voidwalkers were not what anyone expected. They weren't conquerors seeking destruction. They were refugees, fleeing something even worse from beyond the galaxy. Their strange technology, their shifting ships, all designed to escape detection by what they called the consuming dark. "We attacked because the Council rejected our warnings," the Voidwalker representative explained to Emily. "They saw us as invaders, not as messengers." Understanding bloomed between the two species. Humans offered what the Voidwalkers needed most: new approaches, fresh perspectives, and most importantly, a willingness to listen. On Earth, the Council's situation grew desperate. Voidwalker fleets were hours away from their homeworlds when suddenly, inexplicably, the attacks stopped. Dorn received the impossible message with shock. The Voidwalkers request peace talks. Council intelligence soon intercepted communications between the Voidwalkers and an unknown party. When they decoded the signals, they found human language patterns. Impossible. Humans couldn't have reached the edge of the galaxy so quickly. They couldn't have negotiated with an enemy the Council couldn't even communicate with. But they had. As the Council scrambled to understand what was happening, Earth itself revealed one final surprise. The 5 billion hidden humans activated their shields and defenses simultaneously, becoming visible all at once. Cities that had seemed abandoned now buzzed with life and power. Dorn watched in astonishment as advanced human weapon systems came online all around his occupation forces. They had never left. They had simply chosen to become invisible. A single message transmitted from every human facility to both the Council and the Voidwalkers. We choose our own path. The departing human fleets continued their journey to unexplored space, while those who remained made it clear Earth was not defenseless, not conquered, and not anyone's to control. The Galactic Council, once mighty and unquestioned, found themselves facing an uncomfortable truth. They had needed humanity far more than humanity had needed them, and humanity had walked away without a word.